Welcome to today's video on creating writing, passage, and highlight type questions on the Edulastic platform. So again, we are going to breeze through some of the settings that are on every single question type. So if this is your first video that you're watching, you may want to go back and watch the creating multiple choice and matching questions video where I explain every setting in detail. So some of those settings I'll go through a little bit faster on this video because they are the same on every step. So most of these questions that we're talking about today really pertain to our ELA and reading and writing and social studies type questions. So if you are one of those people, this video is your video. To start making questions, we always go over here to our menu and go to Item Bank. Again, it shows you the questions that are already made in Edulastic, so to make a new one, you go up here to the right and click New Item. It will pop up for you a list of all the types of items, and we've done several of these, so now we're going to look at these three right here, writing, passage, and highlighting. So I'm going to start with the writing. And again, there are several different options here for you to pick. You can pick an essay with rich text or plain text. So this just, has more settings here on what the kids can type. And then this would be like very short answer. There's also this upload button, but I'm going to focus on just this type right here because these other two are basically the same thing. So here at the top, you would enter your question. So that would be, explain the difference between this and this, whatever you were writing, wanted the kids to write about. Then here comes some settings. They're a little bit different. A word limit. You can turn a word limit on so that students can only answer so many words, and you can change that over here. Or you could turn it off so that there was no word limit. Kids could write as much as they wanted. Here again, you have word count that it will show the students how many words they have typed, so you can take that on or off. And then over here, you can have spell check allowed for them or not. So that will just kind of depend on your preferences there for that. And then that's pretty much all you have to do to set it up. Down here, this is the same as a lot of our other tests. Here's how many points it's worth. So you maybe want to increase that or decrease that if it's a written response. Here's where I'm going to spend a little bit more time than I have in other videos talking about the rubric. Because more than likely, if this is a writing passage, there's going to be some type of rubric for its grading purposes. So if you have rubrics already built, you can click Use Existing Rubric and search through those. I'm going to go ahead and click Create New Rubric and kind of show you how to do that. A new name pops up, and maybe you want to make this a generic rubric and you would just say like written passages, or maybe you want to make it very specific to the question. Here you could write a description about what type of rubric this is. Down here is where you actually start building the rubric itself. So you would say like criteria 1 is spelling. And then here, if I got a 1 on spelling, that would be like 1 point. And this is what I would have to do. And then a 2 rating would be maybe 2 points if I did it this. And you can add more, as many as you want. So you could keep adding different point values for that criteria. Then once you are done with all of the spelling descriptions and point values, you would click Add New Criteria. And here's my second one. And so maybe I would make this your explanation. Oops, I didn't delete it. How good was your explanation? Did you use the proper setting techniques and all that stuff? And again, you can add the point values. You can always take it away if you accidentally added too many, or right here you could take away if you only wanted that worth 3. And you would just keep doing that over and over again, adding your criteria. If you did see, there is this clone criteria. So maybe if one of these is very similar and you just wanted to change like one word, or maybe you made this like excellent, approaching, above level, and you just cloned that every time and changed the name. I mean, that's up to you. But that clone is there to kind of just, here I just popped up the exact same thing. So if you had your criteria very similar, you could just clone them. So there's your rubric. If you click up here on preview, you would see what the preview would look like for the students. Like here's my criteria of spelling, and they would of course have all your descriptions here. And here's my explanation and all the descriptions, and you could like just click what the students got and it would give them the correct value of points. And so that's really cool. And it automatically is, you're doing the grading of the rubric, but it's putting all the point values in there, and the students can easily see what level they got on each of the different parts of the rubric. You would click probably like save and use. It's not going to let me because I have some zeros in here. But then it would automatically be uploaded into your question right here. And it would even pop up on your existing rubrics in the future. So if you have another written question that would require the same rubric, it would already be made for you. So hopefully you can even use an existing rubric and edit it just to match the question type that you have in the future. So a really awesome tool here on Edulastic. Again, this is like writing instructions to other people that are using this question. This might be a really good time to use that, especially with a rubric. You might have specific instructions for other people using this question on how you used the rubric and so on and so forth. Display settings, the same as normal. This toolbar doesn't appear in any other type of questions. These are the type of tools that your students are allowed to have as they're writing their response. So if they don't need to add a picture to their response, you can click that and it will unhighlight it, and that means it won't be there anymore. Like, this is students. Do they need to add a link to their written response? Probably not on my question, so I'm going to take that off. So you could limit it to just a couple things. You could take all of these off. Maybe you leave the undo and redo. If you're not typing math, you probably don't need math. So you can just click the types of tools your students are allowed to have and use and see during their written response. Down here, solution again is where you can type what students see when they're done on whether they got it right or wrong. You probably don't need to do that so much on these written questions because you've kind of already done that in your rubric. Again, you can go over here to preview mode and see what it looks like to the kids. Like, here's the question, explain this, and then here's the box where they would write it, and you can see here are the tools that they can see. So kind of cool. All right, don't forget to enter your metadata in there so that you can have a good understanding of your data when you go to your reports. So that is an essay question. Pretty simple setup, pretty simple. Let's go back and look at a passage question. There is only one option with passage questions, so we are going to click that. And this looks way different than a lot of the other things that we've done. Right here, there's a button to add a video. Maybe you want kids to watch a video and then answer the question. This is where you could do that. You could type in the URL of the YouTube that they need to watch and stuff like that. Just be aware that if you are sending them to an outside source, that might pop up on your anti-cheating stuff. So there is a way to preview that of what it looks like before you would send it to the kids and add some metadata for your video. Or more than likely, you're actually adding like a reading passage. So this is the place for you to do that. You would have the heading here, like maybe this would be the title heading of like the question. Here's the title of the passage and the author so that you're giving correct source to who wrote it, and then here's where you would actually put the content. You can see they've given you some hints here. Enabling a highlightable text passage can be used across multiple items, so that's really nice. You can add in here some more Lexile scores and stuff like that for your students as well. And then you would go over here and preview what that passage would look like. So it would say section 3, and it would say the title and all that stuff if I typed it all in, and the passage would be there. Now, once you've added in your video or your passage, you have to add in the questions that you want your students to respond. That's over here, add first part to this item. And you can click any of the question types that we've had so far. Whoops, sorry, that backed up. You can add a multiple choice question after they read a passage. You can add a fill in the blank. You can add a matching. Literally any type of question type you can add to this passage. So that's really, really awesome that the students can read the passage and then do any type of question that you want. Maybe you want them to have a written response to your passage. Maybe you want them to have a matching of match the characters and their attributes, or maybe you want it to be multiple choice. Whatever you want it to be, you can add that on here. And then once you click that, this looks very much like it does for any other question. Just when you're done, it will get added to the passage itself. So they would have like the passage on this side and the question on this side. So some stuff about that layout and grading up here would show I could have it all in one column, or maybe I have the passage over here and the question over here, or maybe it's 50-50. You can kind of decide that for yourself, and even use like left and right columns on the screen as you're doing it. So you can have like the passage here with question 1 here and question 2 here. I mean, lots of really awesome things that you can do to kind of set up your question exactly how you want it. Again, there's always a preview mode so that you can see exactly what it looks like to your students. So right now I've got 4 tabs and they're all empty. So I maybe want to get rid of one. I only want like one passage, and so you just don't have to add tabs. And I want 2 questions. And so that would look like the passage over here, and here's question 1 and question 2, and stuff like that. Again, let's see if you can see all of my metadata is empty. That's because you enter the metadata when you actually do the question itself. So when you're doing the question here, that's when you enter the metadata, not at the end like we normally do. So you can see that tab is gone. Again, when you're done, you just push save and publish, and that's it. All right, let's go back to our highlight one. I really, really love this for my social studies friends. It's really cool. You and my ELA friends too. So I'm going to do this sentence one, but it is kind of the same as over here, draw and response. But you would enter the question in here, like highlight all the nouns in this passage, and then you would actually make the passage down here. Like I actually want the passage to be the dog is red or something. Down here, here's how many points it is. Just going to be 1 because there was 1 noun. And the students would click it to highlight it. But you notice it's highlighting like the entire sentence. So I have to change that setting. To change that setting, I have to go to this edit token. Like this is the sentence that I have, but the token is how much the students can highlight. Right now it's set on sentence, so that's why I was highlighting the entire sentence. I can change that to word, and the students will be allowed to click on every word and only highlight a word. You notice you can change it to paragraph if you wanted them to type like the entire or highlight an entire specific paragraph, or of course you can make it custom and really customize it for you. I'm going to leave it at word, and so they would click the dog is red because that was the noun. Down here, again, scoring, same as always. Display, same as always. Solution, same as always. So that's an awesome tool for having students highlight specific things in question or in sentences. Those other modes that we talked about back here, this is really great if they you have a map and you ask students to circle something for you, like circle this part of the country, or circle climates if you're a science teacher and doing something with like highlight or circle the parts of the country that are have this climate, or whatever. So that's really, really awesome tool there as well. I really encourage you to check all of these out. They're really easy to author and easy to use in your classroom.